So just last night, the SEC filed publicly their letter that is trying to get John Deaton from being able to participate in the Ripple versus the SEC case. It was actually a very short motion, although it was heavily redacted, but in it they included a bunch of convoluted information about John Deaton, about XRP holders, and why they shouldn't be able to actually participate in this case. So I'm going to tell you what this motion said. Also, it looks like South Korea is finally going after Terraform Labs and really turning up the heat. Several exchanges have actually been raided. I'm going to tell you what they took and who they're looking for. And as it stands right now, Bitcoin did poke its head above 24,000 before a little bit of a pullback. I'm going to tell you what some of the indicators are showing for the Bitcoin market today. Hey everyone, my name is Randy. Welcome back to the Late Night Grind. Right now on this channel, we're covering the Ripple versus the SEC case, as well as other cryptocurrency news, investment markets, and personal finance. So if any or all these topics interest you, make sure you hit that subscribe button, join the Late Night Grind community, and also don't forget to smash the thumbs up button, watch this video all the way to the end, and of course, check out my Patreon, link in the description below. I just posted some new content that you'll want to check out. My last several picks have done extremely well. Alright guys, if you do that, I greatly appreciate it. Let's jump into it. So it looks like in South Korea, there's finally some pressure being put on Terraform Labs. Prosecutors are actually going after several members of the organization, and as early as yesterday, it was announced that 7 cryptocurrency exchanges were raided. Prosecutors were there looking for information. It was reported that materials were taken, including transaction records from several exchanges in connection with this investigation of Terraform Labs, Deaton, as well as several other things that they're looking for. Now, this investigation has been being called for ever since the collapse of the Terra Luna ecosystem and its stablecoin. But amidst all this, Deaton, how he's not under arrest right now, I have no idea. But nonetheless, he's kind of remained off of Twitter ever since the launch of Luna 2.0. However, just the other day, he posted on Twitter just the light bulb emoji. That's it, the light bulb emoji. And some people are saying, no, Deaton, no more ideas. Get your legal stuff straightened first. Well, the problem is if he can actually be found, his legal stuff getting straightened out might take a very long time. Because nonetheless, it sounds like right now there are some hot and heavy investigations going on for Terraform and Deaton. And before I get into the John Deaton versus the SEC as it stands right now, I wanted to talk about what Bitcoin's doing. The last couple of videos I made over the last several days said it looks like Bitcoin was up against a resistance level. It broke out a little bit, but it was kind of more of a head fake. Well, finally, it looks like the indicators were correct, even though it took a day or so. But Bitcoin did poke its head up above 24,000. Now, I did read some analysis. Now, I did see some analysis that said 25.5 is likely the price point at which Bitcoin needs to kind of poke its head above and stay there in order to continue this uptrend. A lot of people are seeing this pullback that's happening right now and are wondering if this is going to be the pullback into that channel, into the channel that it's been in for several weeks. In fact, one of the analysis that I was watching yesterday said 24,000 was his marker to pull all of his crypto profits out, close his long positions. Actually, there was 2 guys that said the same thing. And so far it looks like they're right. Just above 24,000, Bitcoin did a little bit of reversal and it's pulled back. Right now it is hovering at about 23,700, but some of the indicators are looking a little bit bearish, including the RSI and some of the volume indicators. So this is something I'm keeping an eye on. Right now, XRP didn't climb as much as Bitcoin did, respectively, in terms of percentages, although it did hit 37 cents. All right, so now let's get into this case, the SEC versus Ripple. The matter at hand, this is John Deaton, he's an outside attorney. He is essentially representing over 68,000 XRP holders who have joined him or in supporting him of getting into this case of the SEC versus Ripple so that XRP holders can actually be represented in this case. Now, the SEC does not want that to happen. They are in strong opposition of both John Deaton or anybody representing XRP holders from entering into the case. So they actually penned this letter of opposition against John Deaton. They submitted it to the courts, but a couple of weeks ago, actually last week, they said they want this sealed. They didn't want anybody to see it. Well, they just said, nope, it's got to be public. So they made some redactions because of some personal information that were in there and had to publicly file it. So last night, they did so. And it's not really shocking as to what was found in the report. It was actually very short. However, they did include a whole bunch of exhibits in which they're basically saying that John Deaton, his activities, XRP holders, his followers, they've basically been threatening and bullying the SEC. They mentioned several YouTube videos that John Deaton was doing interviews in, several other YouTube videos that he was in, his Twitter thread, some of his followers' Twitter comments. If you can actually believe this. And I don't know where these guys grew up, but any 5th grader on recess typically is going to get more threats and more bullying than anything these guys have ever experienced. And so to actually put this in a big litigation case, honestly, it seems kind of childish. But coming from the SEC, that's not surprising. The rest of this piece seemed very opinionated. Seemed more like an opinion piece than some piece of actual legal objections that they're actually trying to get through. In fact, after reading it, it seemed like the SEC, once again, as the judge pointed out in her latest motion, that the SEC seems to be putting the outcome ahead of the actual law. In other words, they're not following where the legalities go, they're just following what they want the outcome to be. They don't want John Deaton intervening in this case. But for their part, the SEC did get extremely thorough. In fact, they even included the open rates of the emails in which John Deaton sent out to those 68,000 people that signed up to join him in the lawsuit. They talked about the open rates, the bounce rates, how many people actually went through and filed the affidavits, how many signed them, how many got them notarized. So good for them for being very thorough. But nonetheless, there were still thousands upon thousands of people that went through all that trouble and signed the affidavits. Now, according to some on Twitter, there's actually a few of the expert witnesses that were named in here that names I didn't pick out, but that will probably be included in this case on both the SEC's and Ripple side. Now, part of this opinionated response by the SEC was the fact that they said, well, even Ripple hired its own attorney to respond to the SEC's hired expert. Basically saying, listen, John Deaton's not going to add anything to this case. It's not going to help Ripple. Ripple's already doing everything in order to combat what we're trying to charge them with. So John Deaton and his XRP holders aren't going to do anything for this case. And yes, they did actually mention that it's going to make this case take longer. In fact, nothing could make this case go longer except the SEC themselves. They're doing a brilliant job at that. Now, if you look in the description below, I'm actually going to link to that response that the SEC filed publicly. You can skim some of it, skim some of the exhibits. Some of it's actually very humorous. Some of the Twitter feeds, you may end up being in some of those screenshots because yes, screenshots from the Twitter feed are all in there. The last thing that the SEC attempted to do with this letter to the judge was basically show how John Deaton's whole point is for the protection of XRP holders because the SEC seems to be going after XRP holders. The SEC kind of fought back on that and said, listen, we know that you guys can essentially try to prove that XRP has a use case, it's a consumable, but yet we have court cases in which tangible items have been considered securities. And he went on to mention cosmetics, even boats, even Scotch whiskey. He said because they aren't necessarily looking at the use of the product, but rather the promises and the offerings of the promoter. So in this case, they're referring to Ripple. They said they're referring more to the marketing practices of Ripple back in 2013, rather than just people who are buying XRP that may have had no idea who Ripple even was at the time. So in this response, they were pretty much scatterbrained all over the place. Sometimes it looked like they were just a bunch of whiny fifth graders, and other times it looked like they were being very fearful, like there is a reason they do not want John Deaton entering this case. And don't bother John Deaton right now, by the way. He has until July 25th to fire back his response, and I can't wait to see it. This is going to be so much fun to cover. But nonetheless, go follow John Deaton on Twitter if you're not already following him there. But this is my opinion. Get your popcorn ready. The fireworks are about to go off. This is one of the most interesting parts of the case, even though I believe the Hinman emails are the most important part of the case. And so as the SEC tries to back up their case at every turn, they are running out of options quickly. All right, guys, I want to thank you so much for watching this video all the way to the end, for smashing that thumbs up button. And as always, I'll see you guys on the next video.